My father was rushed to the hospital, which called me back to my family home. 2 months later, when I returned, it wasn't my husband who greeted me, but a stranger. I was struck by the unfathomable reality. Who was this woman? Why is a complete stranger in my house? My husband then appeared and spoke words I never could have anticipated. "We got divorced 2 months ago. I've decided to sell the house. I'll take the proceeds from the house sale as alimony." I finally exploded in fury at my selfish husband. You have no idea, do you?" "Just you wait," I whispered to myself inwardly. I'm Kathy, 42 years old. It's been 3 years since I rushed into marriage on the brink of turning 40. The once fiery passion of our newlywed life has now completely cooled. My husband Bob is 2 years older than me. He has changed drastically. Where has the kind man I knew in our newlywed days gone? His transformation is so dramatic, I want to shout it out. Just leave him, right? You might think so, but for me, there was a reason I couldn't make the leap to divorce. That reason was my father. I didn't want to worry my father, who lives alone back home. My mother passed away before I got married. At that time, I didn't have a boyfriend and was far from married, let alone being able to show her grandchildren. In the end, I had to say my final goodbyes to my mother without being able to give her any significant news. From that experience, I couldn't help but think, I don't want to cause any worry to my father. If I got divorced now, it would be more than just a worry for my father. Furthermore, I am not particularly attractive, nor am I sociable. Even if I divorced my husband, there would be a few men willing to be with a woman in her 40s who is divorced. If I divorce, it's over, so I have no choice but to endure. That's what I kept telling myself. Both my husband and I are both full-time employees. Our earnings aren't so different, and the time we leave for and return from work is pretty much the same. Of course, we split our living expenses equally. Despite this, my husband behaves as if he is the one supporting our lifestyle. Ever since their marriage, he had become a complete lord and master of the house.
"Hey, where's my dinner? Why isn't it ready yet?"
"I just got home too. If you feel that way, why don't you lend a hand?"
"Why the heck do I, a man, have to help out? Who do you think allows for this lifestyle we're living? Don't get all high and mighty being a woman."
Being a woman? That's old-fashioned, to say the least. Do people who utter such male chauvinistic remarks even exist these days? I can't help but talk back to my husband, Bob, because I'm constantly frustrated with him. The words that come back from him are always condescending towards me. This life has continued for about a year now. Bob's attitude only gets worse. I had even stopped thinking I want to go back to the way our relationship used to be. To minimize the time together, I would go out as much as possible on the weekends and take a break. If I stayed at home with Bob, even on my days off, I would feel suffocated. Fortunately, as long as I do the housework properly, Bob doesn't complain. This was a silver lining in my misfortune. Lately, on my days off, I've been spending my time visiting different cafes. I research during the week and go to the cafes I found, and it has become a habit to read there over the weekend. Bob always comes home late from work on Fridays. It seems that with his promotion, he's been given tasks that can only be done on Fridays. Taking advantage of this, I've decided to take a detour on my way home from work on Fridays. I borrow new books from the library and prepare for my weekend reading time. The food supplies were running low, so I made a pit stop at the supermarket. Bob probably won't be home yet anyway. I shopped for a longer time than usual and then started my way home. But when I got home, Bob was already there. He was lying on the couch watching TV with his jacket and tie discarded. The sight of Bob's slovenliness caught my eye and I let out a sigh. Seeing me, he let out a grumpy voice.
"Get dinner ready fast. How long do you expect me to wait?"
"It's unusual for you to be home on a Friday. I thought you'd be working late."
Work ended early today. Now get dinner ready quickly, and prepare the bath too.
Suppressing my irritation, I headed for the kitchen. As I prepared dinner, I cleaned the bath during breaks. My cell phone rang just when dinner was about to be ready. The ringtone drowned out the TV sound, and Bob frowned. Without a word, he glared at me as if to say, "Answer it quickly." As I pressed the answer button, a hurried voice came through from the other end. The caller was a doctor, and he said that my father, back in my hometown, had been taken to the hospital. He said he would discuss the detailed condition in person and asked me if I could come to the hospital. "I'm on my way now." As I told him this, my husband, still staring at the TV, grumbled in a sullen voice.
"Hey, what about dinner?"
"Dad's been taken to the hospital. I'm heading there now."
"What? What about my dinner?"
Despite hearing that his wife's father was hospitalized, he was only concerned about himself. I couldn't hide my irritation at such a husband. "For once, can't you manage by yourself? The meal is ready, so eat it yourself." Frustrated, I exploded at him, and he retorted, veins bulging in anger.
"What's with that attitude? Just because he's hospitalized doesn't mean you need to make such a big fuss. You're married to me. You should prioritize your husband over your own father."
I was speechless at his unreasonable outburst. But now the hospital comes first. I have no time to argue with such a person. I slapped a plate down in front of my grumbling husband. "Please take the dishes to the sink." I left home in a hurry after speaking coldly to him. When I arrived at the hospital, my father was lying in bed. His face, which I hadn't seen in a long time, seemed somewhat haggard. He seemed fine on the phone, but perhaps he's feeling lonely living alone. He doesn't have my mother anymore, and his diet may not be balanced. My father always told me on the phone not to worry, but I felt ashamed for taking his words at face value. He wouldn't admit weakness so easily. Why didn't I realize this? As I blamed myself, a nurse called me. There was going to be an explanation about my father's condition from the attending physician, and I was led to another room. According to the doctor, my father slipped on the stairs at the train station and fell. He fractured his leg, and it's going to take some time for him to walk again. "Do you have anyone who can bring things like clothes for him while he's in the hospital? It depends, but rehabilitation can be quite tough. If possible, please visit him often." "I understand. I'll come every day." Upon the doctor's words, I made my decision immediately. It takes 2 hours one way from home to this hospital. It's tough to visit every day, so it's more realistic to commute from my parents' house. That means I need to make various preparations. Waiting for my father to wake up, I left the hospital. I got home around noon on Saturday. My husband seemed to be out somewhere. When he returned in the evening, I explained the situation to him. I have to go to the hospital to take care of my father, so I'll be going back to my parents' house for a while. But as expected, he wasn't pleased.
"Then who's going to take care of me?"
"You're a grown man. Can't you take care of your own things? Even when your father-in-law is struggling, all you can think about is yourself. Don't you have a little bit of intent to cooperate with me?"
"There's no way that's true. It's only natural for a wife to take care of her husband."
I was fed up with my husband's usual comments. Frustrated, I made this proposition. "Why don't we move my father to a hospital here? That way I can visit him while doing the house chores."
"Great, do that."
"But in return, you should let my father move in with us after he is discharged. We have to keep an eye on his condition with regular doctor visits." Upon hearing the word "live together," my husband made a clearly disgusted face.
"No way. Absolutely no way we're living together."
"Then let me return to his home." In the end, Bob said,
"Do as you please,"
and ended the conversation. I contacted my job, completed the necessary procedures, and returned to my parents' home. The daily hospital visits were tougher than I had anticipated. That said, my father was doing his best too. I couldn't afford to whine. Motivated, I continued supporting my father. Perhaps due to his age, my father's condition did not improve much. Before I knew it, 2 months had passed since I moved back to my parents' home. I need to return home soon. My father's discharge still seemed a while away, and the seasons were starting to change. I need to switch out my clothes and bring some new ones. Assessing the situation, I decided to return home once. However, the person who greeted me when I got home after such a long time was not my husband. A woman's voice was coming from deep within the room. "Bob, are you back?" Shocked by this unexpected event, I froze. "Bob, you're here, aren't you? Bob!" Apparently finding it odd that there was no response, the owner of the voice peeked out of the room. "You're not Bob? Who are you?" To the woman who was stunned with surprise, I retaliated confidently. "Who are you? What are you doing in someone else's house?" "Someone else's house? This is my house." At the woman's declaration, I nearly collapsed. Panicking, I went out to the porch and checked the nameplate. No mistake, this was my house. What on earth is happening? While I was unable to fully grasp the reality, my husband appeared nonchalantly from the entrance. You! What the hell is going on here?" As I confronted him fiercely, my husband widened his eyes. "Why are you here?" "I came back once to get a change of clothes because it seems like my father's discharge is still a while away. More importantly, who is that woman?" "It's your fault for not taking care of me. She'll be taking care of the house from now on." My husband blurted out something inconceivable. "All right, we got divorced 2 months ago." Divorce? What's that about? I haven't heard anything." "Of course you haven't. I made all the decisions myself." What do you mean?" "Well, we're divorced. I'm planning to sell this house soon. I'll take the proceeds as alimony." "But this house isn't in both our names."
"Half of it is mine to begin with. It's your fault for neglecting the housework. Give me all the proceeds from the sale."
"I haven't even signed the divorce papers yet, and yet we're divorced?"
"Anyway, we're divorced. Grab your stuff and get out of here now."
At his selfish words, my patience snapped. "You don't know anything." At that, he looked at me with skepticism.
"What? Are you going to talk about property division? It's your fault for not fulfilling your duties as a wife. Even if you sue, it's a lost cause. You're sure to lose. It's a waste of time."
"Property division? So you know that word?"
"Are you making fun of me?"
"That's enough. If you say so, I'll grab my stuff and leave." I went to my room and packed my things. Then the woman he was having an affair with called to him in a sweet voice. "Hey, Bob, who's this old lady?"
"She's just my ex-wife coming to pick up her stuff."
"Oh, good. I thought she was going to say, 'Give me back Bob,' ha ha." I could hear them laughing in the living room. Apparently she knew he was married and still dated him. Just you wait. While packing my stuff, I muttered this in my mind. I returned to my parents' house with my belongings and visited a local law office. After that, I went to a detective agency and asked for an infidelity investigation. There's still a lot to do. It seems like I'm going to be busy. My cell phone rang several weeks later. When I pressed the call button, I could hear Bob yelling, "Hey you, what did you do? Alimony, what's this amount? $100,000? No matter how you look at it, it's crazy." "I consulted a lawyer about what you did to me. I'm saying I'll settle for $100,000. Isn't that still on the low side?"
"Huh? Where? Did your sense of money go crazy because of the shock of our divorce? Listen to me, I will never pay alimony."
I could picture him standing defiantly. Just the thought of shattering his arrogant attitude makes me incredibly happy. I purposely took the roundabout way. "If you say you won't pay, that's fine, but I bet you, who are always concerned about what others think, will end up paying alimony." Just as expected, Bob started getting more frustrated on purpose. "Stop spouting nonsense. You sound like you want alimony from my wife. She shouldn't have to pay you a dime. Just because you're single now doesn't mean you should hate on married folks. How greedy can one woman be? That's why you got divorced." "Wife? Huh. So you consider that cheating lady your wife already? Maybe you should watch your mouth before making fun of others. If I wanted to, I could take you to court, you know."
What? What did you say?"
Bob seemed to be at a loss for words after hearing the word court.
"Hey, what crime are you accusing me of? I married my current wife after we got divorced. I haven't done anything wrong."
Sorry to break it to you, but I've already investigated your affair. I hired a detective and have all the evidence, so don't even try to deny it.
What?
Bob fell silent, but I didn't let up. You've been seeing her for over a year now, haven't you? However, in current day, unfortunately, having an affair isn't considered a crime.
Then why did you say you could take me to court? You just said that cheating isn't a crime.
Don't you know? Filing for divorce without the other party's consent is a crime.
What?
I continued as Bob remained silent. What you did is called forgery of a private document, which is a serious offense. How could you think that wouldn't be a problem? Using someone else's seal to sign and submit divorce papers without permission is obviously a bad idea if you think about it.
That's because it's your fault. You abandoned me for months. That's why I divorced you. I did nothing wrong. It's all on you.
Didn't you file for divorce just 1 week after I went back to my parents' house? I got a report from a private investigator. Saying that I abandoned you for months doesn't add up. In your mind, we were already divorced, so I wasn't your wife anymore. Bob couldn't come up with anything to say. I pressed on with more fervor. Come on, what kind of grown man says, she didn't take care of me, so I got a divorce? Give me a break. Take care of yourself. I'm not your housekeeper.
But a wife is supposed to take care of her husband. How do you think we were able to make ends meet?
Cut the crap. What era are you living in? Your salary is pretty much the same as mine. We even split the bills 50-50. Who do you think should be thanking for the life you've been living? There was no stopping me now. Without waiting for his words, I put all my cards on the table. I'll sue you for forgery if you don't cough up $100,000 as compensation. If you don't want that, just pay up. And of course, I'll make sure to get a proper compensation from your mistress too. I'll take half of the house sale and joint savings as part of our property division.
Whoa, hold on. If things go like that, I'll be left with almost nothing. That's a problem. She doesn't even work. I have no choice but to support her.
Do you think I care? I can sue you for your crimes and for cheating too. Should I just do both if you're going to keep whining? He cut off the phone in fear. Bob, who was always worried about public appearances, chose to pay the compensation without taking it to court. It seemed that he also ended up having to pay the compensation claimed from his mistress. Between the property division and the compensation for his mistress, he was left with nothing, having to bear the weight of both, apparently living day by day on the edge. Moreover, the affair became known at his company, and now he was reportedly enduring uncomfortable stares from his colleagues. Unable to quit his job, Bob began to vent his frustration on his wife. Their loving relationship took a sharp turn, and now their days were filled with nothing but arguments, and their relationship was reportedly at its worst. On the other hand, I requested a transfer to a branch near my parents' house at my company. My father was discharged from the hospital without any problems, and now we're living a relaxing life together. I plan to make up to show filial piety by taking good care of my father from now on.